This is a video that I wanted to make for a few months now because it has historic implications, and despite those implications, it seems like this story has flown under the radar. That is of course the story of current 19-year-old Princepal Singh, the 19-year-old from India who right now has the best shot to be the first Indian-born player to ever play in the National Basketball Association. And if you're having trouble with the name, it's Princepal Singh. That's about as close as I can get it. Think of the DJ Princepal, the legendary producer. That'll get you somewhere in the ballpark of how to pronounce his name. If not, I know he's commonly referred to as Prince, so either way, we got a kick-ass name there. Now, we are at the starting point of this long, uncharted journey to get to the NBA with Prince here, with as many things going for him as there are going against him. And what is the biggest single thing going against him? How it's damn near impossible to make it to the NBA. But damn it, it's worth a shot. Like I said, Princepal hasn't gotten a whole lot of media coverage in his day. There have been plenty of in-depth articles about his journey throughout the process, although none really getting a whole lot of traction. There was a Shams tweet sent out over the summer about him coming to the G League, which did get a few thousand likes, and a few mixtapes here and there on his highlight video on YouTube, but not a whole lot. And one of these mixtapes actually has the song J-Ho playing in the background, which, let me say this, India is a rich nation, rich in culture, as well as music. It has 1.3 billion people. I promise you their entire fucking culture doesn't revolve around Slumdog Millionaire. I've never been, but I think that's somewhat accurate. But I digress. And further in regard to the lack of buzz he has less than 10,000 followers on Instagram, and on Twitter he has less than 150 followers. Not 150,000, not 1,500, 150 followers. So Singh will either sink or swim in the G League, where he starts playing competitively in the G League coming up soon. But for now, let's start and talk about his journey, his story, how he got here. At the age of 14 in 2014, he had never played the game of basketball, didn't even know what it was. He stood around 6'5", 6'6", that was about his frame, and he excelled at the great sport of volleyball. Traveling to Ludhiana in 2014 to try out for a volleyball academy, a coach who actually saw him, spotted him, and was a coach at the local basketball academy said, "Hey, you should try out for basketball, kid. You're 6'6". You gotta be playing fucking basketball." He was asked to try out for basketball, just give it a shot for a few weeks, and if he didn't like it, he could always go back to volleyball. Princepal later recalled he was skeptical of basketball at first due to not really knowing what it was and volleyball being the most popular sport in his village, but fast forward a couple weeks and Princepal started enjoying the game, admittedly more so than he ever did with volleyball. 6 months into his training, members of the Spire Institute in Geneva, Ohio came to scout him out as well as other prospects, and by 2016 he was offered a scholarship by then. And you may have heard of the Spire Institute. It was that place where that guy, you know, LaMelo Ball, Triple B's, played right before he played for the Illawarra Hawks in the NBL, and then going professional, being picked 3rd overall just this past week. However, Singh never had that opportunity. He possibly could have played with LaMelo, but he never had that opportunity due to visa problems. His visa was rejected twice, and Princepal knew he would have to make a name for himself on the international stage. And by international, I mean from the perspective of outside of the US. Instead of Spire, Singh would train at the NBA Academy located in Delhi for about a year and a half until moving up, graduating to the NBA Global Academy for about 2 years. The Global Academy is of course in Australia. In the meantime, while at both academies, he let his presence be known. He made a name for himself on the international scene. He led India to winning the U16 South Asia Basketball Association gold medal in September of 2017 and won tournament MVP. In April of 2018, India and Prince competed in the FIBA U16 Asian Championships in China, and India, there is no other way to put it, got smacked, losing to Korea, Japan, and then Lebanon before getting bounced in the group stage play. Prince played pretty well though, putting up 22.7 points per game and 13 boards in the group stages. Those 13 boards, by the way, were good enough to lead the tournament in the group stages for rebounds, even out-rebounding his current teammate in the G League, Kai Sotto, who only had a measly 10 boards per game. Now, Sotto, of course, would go on to win the league MVP of that tournament, averaging 13.5 rebounds per game throughout the whole tourney. But that's neither here nor there. Now, in December of 2018, at the age of 17, after playing basketball for just 3 years total, not professionally, that's 3 years total, he finally was called up for the Indian senior men's team, and this past February was selected to join the team for the 2021 FIBA Asia qualifying stages. Thank you, Wikipedia, for all that information. But despite success on the international stage, I'd argue his biggest achievements came as a member of the NBA Global Academy program in Australia, as he had the opportunity to train and grow with some of the best prospects around the world, train with them, compete with them, get better with them, become friends with them. That is a priceless basketball education that Singh desperately needed, being that he is still very new to the game. The opportunities he has gotten in the program have been second to none, including being selected to play in the Basketball Without Borders Global Camp in LA, the Basketball Without Borders Camp Asia in India, and the NBA Global Camp in Italy. He has improved a lot during this stretch. He's learned a lot about the game, which brings us to today. Over the summer, he became the first NBA Global Academy graduate member to make the jump to the G League, and just the 4th player in India's history to do so. The G League is essentially the minor leagues or a developmental league to the NBA that has gotten revamped in the last few years or so, as high school products now don't have to go to college or to an international overseas program in order to be eligible for the NBA draft that following year. Which, if you've been paying attention to all the NCAA bullshit lately, that is a total game changer and could completely change the route for high school prospects as to which way they go after high school. Everybody has a vested interest in their team, the Ignite team, that is the team Princepal plays for, as well as Princepal. Pretty much everyone around them wants them to succeed, because it could be a total dagger to the NCAA, who is probably crapping itself right now. His team right now, the G League Ignite team, is essentially a melting pot for global prospects. Of course, Prince is from India, Kai Sotto of the Philippines, projected top 5 pick Jonathan Kuminga of the Congo, and the Americans including top 2 pick Jalen Green, as well as Isaiah Todd and a few others, who are also expected to make some noise at the next level at the draft. The rest of the team consists of mostly journeymen, as a lot of NBA G Leagues do, including guys trying to get one last shot in the NBA or just playing the game because they love it, with the exception of 1987-born Amir Johnson, who had a very solid career in the league that spanned for nearly 15 seasons. Look for Amir to be a mentor to a lot of these young guys, especially Princepal, as they are similar in height. So, as we start to wrap up, let's weigh the pros and cons of being on this G League Ignite team, and the pros definitely outweigh the cons. The pros are that everyone from the NBA Global Pipeline to the G League to the NBA itself have a vested interest in the success of this team and Princepal. This groundbreaking team could set the tone for elite high school prospects for years and years to come. And secondly, another pro is that his team is stacked with young, good, elite players. This is by far the best competition he'll ever face so far, and he may struggle practicing against them at first at such an increase in skill level from what he's seen before that it will only help to make him a better player. Also, having three-time NBA champ Bryan Shaw as your head coach isn't bad either, and it's because of the star-studded roster that this G League team will get more exposure from the media, fans, whoever, than any other G League team in the history of the G League. Lately, the G League has been more than an afterthought to most fans. This team could change all of that. The only downside to joining this team could of course be a limited number of minutes for our boy because of how stacked their roster is. Recently, they had a closed-door scrimmage, but NBA.com did a little write-up of this. Every prospect was mentioned on how they did, except for Princepal. Is that because he didn't get any minutes? Is that because he didn't play well? I don't know. Time will tell as they start to televise these games how much Coach Shaw is going to use this young man. Now to the scouting report, which wasn't entirely easy because Princepal has made a name throughout programs and clinics just about as much as he had throughout games. And for a team that was as bad as the U16, U17 India team, Prince shined. But that can often be misleading because somebody's got to score on a shitty team. MCW was the best rookie on a terrible Sixers team, and he is now a deep bench player in the NBA. Anyway, based on his FIBA footage, Prince has shown to be a very good rim protector at 6'10" with an impressive wingspan. His shot has a nice touch to it, and he likes to finish at the elbow when he's shooting, assuming he's not scoring at the rim. For a guy of his size, he can pass and dribble pretty well. He and his scouts have noted that he is hardworking, lives and breathes the sport of basketball, and very much knows the role of a modern-day big man in today's NBA. They have to be able to do everything. It is why he has been working diligently on his pick-and-pop game, especially at the top of the key. This is in an effort to expand his shooting beyond the elbow. He notes that his favorite player is Anthony Davis, and he wants to model his game around Anthony Davis. And if he can be 1/100th the player Anthony Davis is, he's going to have a long career in the NBA, maybe even 1/1000th. The downside is, of course, his strength and his size. Still only 19, but his skill set at the next level won't likely work until he gets stronger. Like I always say, he needs to become a beefcake. Basketball has been a full-time job for him now for a few years, so I'm sure he's working on that daily, especially now with a great G League staff. Worry at his current size, skill set, and experience that it won't translate to that next level, that bump up in competition that he just isn't ready for. At least I hope he's ready for. But right now I would say he is a long shot to make the NBA. He's not ready right now. He may be down the road. He just needs to keep working on it. Now, best case scenario. What does this mean for India, a rich nation of 1.3 billion people? Well, basketball is obviously not a very popular sport over there, although it is played, but cricket, soccer/football, this game, which is actually really sick, even freestyle wrestling are more popular sports. Prince became the 4th Indian-born player to ever play in the G League, with the 3 before him failing to turn pro. And you all may remember Canadian-born player Simbular, who became the first player with Indian descent to ever debut and play in the NBA for the Sacramento Kings. Part of this was to make history, as the Kings owner is Indian, and they did break barriers with the signing. Part of this was also because it was a cool story. Sim stood 7'5", and it was also on a Kings team that could hire anyone to play for them, even my cat, and not be worse off. Even my friend Henry could play for the Kings. He'd be one of the best ghosters in the entire NBA. But at 7'5", everybody knew Bilar's stint in a game that was just getting smaller and smaller would be short-lived. He was too big, he was too tall, he was too slow, and he was not athletic enough. I think Prince is a much better prospect than him, as well as every Indian-born player to come before him. And yes, that does include Santam Singh. I think his fundamentals are much stronger than every prospect Indian-born to come before him, as well as Simbular. And we'll see as he is tossed into the fire immediately at the NBA G League level. And he needs to put on muscle or he will get torched. Much like Jan Hus was. Jan, rest in peace. We'll never forget you. Prince has realized he is the entire world and certainly the country of India in the palm of his hand. He hopes to make all of India proud, but mostly inspire the youth and hope the game flourishes. Something that I think will happen if he does reach the NBA level. And let's not forget, the NBA is a business as well. A nation of 1 billion plus turning into a loyal fan base would be huge financially for the NBA. This only serves to help Prince, because even if his game isn't all the way there, teams may take a chance on him just for a PR, historic, and financial standpoint. India is a country a lot of economists expect to be the next booming economy, and businesses have already tried to tap into this untapped market. The WWE, for example, forced the title upon Jinder Mahal, who was a great champion, by the way, and billed him as the modern-day Maharaja to expand into the Indian market, despite the fact that he was born and raised in Canada. Long story short, Prince's success would rewrite basketball history and how the world views basketball, potentially forever. And despite all of this, in the interviews I have seen, he comes across calm, cool, and collected, and focused on the task at hand. We wish him all the best, and I hope to revisit this video in about 1 year, maybe a half a year's time, to check in on Prince and all the progress that he has hopefully made. And just from a pure entertainment standpoint, we need him in the league just for all the puns that Mark Jackson will name around his name. You got, of course, oh, what a block by Singh. He sent his opponent to the principals. Forgive me, this is a terrible Mark Jackson impression. You also got, what a block by Princepal. The entire nation of India is singing his praises. That was just 2 off the top of my head. Mark Jackson will twist his name, make it into something even greater. I can't wait to see it, and hopefully we all see it. Thank you very much. Check out the website. Make sure to subscribe. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone, if you celebrate it. Hope you're doing well. Subscribe, website, social media if you want. I don't care. Thank you so much. New videos once a week. I don't know. Thank you.